Welcome, everybody, to the first Scroll Soup podcast. I am Kieran, and these are my two co hosts who I'll let introduce themselves.
Hello, hello. My name is Mason.
Hello.
And that's Blake.
That's hello, yeah.
Hello.
That's
I'm Blake, and I'm an alcoholic.
it's true.
Hi, Blake.
Hello.
So today we're going to be talking about kind of our hopes for the Elder Scrolls 6, what systems we want in there, what kind of story arcs we're looking for. Since it's kind of confirmed to be in the Iliac Bay, like Daggerfall, and I'm kind of drawing some comparisons there as well.
I don't know. Some of us
so-
diehards still big hopes. It's gonna be in Black Marsh.
yeah, hopefully. I've always wanted to
Fingers
paddle
crossed.
through a mangrove on a kayak in
Mm.
the Elder Scrolls. Right, so who wants to get started with their kind of first talking point?
Well, I suppose I'll go ahead if that's all right with the two of you.
Mhm.
Personally, I'm hoping that, given its higher proximity, I'm going to hope that we're going to have a bigger emphasis on the Ardmeri Dominion, as well as gain more info in general on the faction.
Yeah.
Because obviously, as both you know, like it was first introduced in Skyrim proper, but even then we only got smallest of glimpses into it. Like
Yeah,
we don't really know anything specific really, like how the faction like operates inside, what the Somerset Isles look like right now, or
yeah. All we really know is what their secret police is like, essentially. Like
Yeah.
what the Thalmor are like. We've only seen them. We haven't seen, what kind of like military they have really. So
All we know is
yeah,
they're evil elves.
evil
Mm.
elves.
Mm.
Yeah,
what like the normal citizenry like look like, or even think of
yeah.
the Dominion. Do most people enjoy it? I feel probably have to, but even then, like what's the internal politics sort of look like?
Yeah, what is life like under
You know-
the Dominion?
I hope we get a big plot twist that they're actually quite nice people.
They're
Yeah.
actually pretty chill. They're not trying to end the world at all.
They just hate Vikings.
They just really don't like the Nords for whatever reason. Yeah, yeah, it's definitely something that would be good to see in 6 anyway.
Well, it kind of links into one of my points as well, actually.
Yeah.
With So I hope that the Aldmeri Dominion plotline, like Skyrim, works on a sort of like, you know how the main plot was obviously the dragons returning.
Yeah.
But that the subplot, which was always the Civil War, I've got Aldmeri will come into that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'll get into what I think the main plot of Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be in a bit, but I hope the subplot is going to be like the Civil War, but with maybe like the districts of Hammerfell and stuff. Then five.
Yeah.
We know from the is it the In My Time of Need quest line in Skyrim that the same sort of fighting against the Aldmeri Dominion is going on in that area.
Yeah.
So I think it'll work really nicely as a nice sub main plot.
Definitely. I would like to see it like a lot similar to the Civil War, where like obviously we know that there's two big kingdoms in that area. It could
Yeah.
be a thing of one is either completely capitulated or siding with the Outmeridian, while the other one is still in a state of revolt or resistance.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Like
could also be a thing of like the people in High Rock as well also pushing against it, knowing that they'd probably be next on the chopping block.
the thing with the people in High Rock is there's still the Doreni elves up there on the Isle of Balfiera with the Adamantine Tower. So it's not like they're completely cut off from elven influence there. Like compared to somewhere like Skyrim where they're completely isolated, and even Cyrodiil where like there's no major elven factions there for thousands of years. So maybe there could be even a thing where there's a bit more influence for them in there, rather than completely against elven superiority, because they are like partially elven, the Bretons. It's kind of a thing that gets brushed under the rug in the later games. Like in Skyrim, they just look like dudes. They just look like regular old humans, but
True.
Well,
realistically, they are.
when playing an Elder Scrolls game, when have you actually picked a Breton, not as a joke?
I mean,
Actually, funny you said that. My current Morrowind character is a Breton woman.
I made a Breton character in Morrowind not long ago, but it was only because I wanted to be a mage without being a Dunmer again.
Yeah, that's literally what I'm doing.
true. I mean, I think that is the big selling point of them. You know, they're the human mage.
Yeah, they're human mages. They make kind of good. Well, at least maybe not in Skyrim because of the way magic works, but in previous Elder Scrolls games, they made really good like spell swords, like battle mages kind of thing, where you had the best of both worlds.
And also, like, you can RP that like old like stereotypical fantasy just because of how like High Rock is. You know, so you can like bring that as like the chivalric knight sort of deal instead of just like the more barbarous Nord that they usually are. You can sort of get that still like chivalry warrior out of them. I think they work very well for that.
Yeah, they're like classic medieval.
Yeah, I've also got a thought for like how so we're talking about uniting against the Aldmeri Dominion, or obviously uniting with the Aldmeri Dominion against others.
Yeah,
I hope that we get something like New Vegas, where there's so many different factions you can convince to join you in the final battle.
Yeah.
For example, you can get the Brotherhood of Steel to join you if you want to make the fight easier. Imagine that, like the orcs.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah, like the orcs are kind of a loose cannon with like we're not exactly sure of the current state of Orsinium, are we?
No,
true.
And they are there in the Hrothgarian Mountains, so they're definitely a thing we could see, which would be very cool.
Imagine a whole quest line of uniting all the orc tribes, like
yeah,
all the Atreides, and then
imagine Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, Lawrence of Ozim.
Yeah,
just befriend the Khajiit to fly their biplane over the dam.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not gonna lie. I want the Aldmeri and the Dominion and the Empire to be like fighting in the middle, and then all of a sudden, me with my pack of orcs running down the mountains with axes, fighting both of them off. You know? Wildcard ending. Elder Scrolls Wildcard. Yeah.
Another thing I'd really like to see explored, if it is in the Iliac Bay again, is a kind of an expansion of the way vampire covens were portrayed in Daggerfall, because there's a lot of influence from Vampire the Masquerade there.
Yeah.
Like for example, in Daggerfall, the kingdom, the Vraseth vampires kind of had control of all of their like the Glenumbria moors, all of that area was controlled by that vampire clan, and depending where you got infected by a vampire, that's what bloodline you belong to, and each bloodline had a unique gift. Like for example, the Vraseth bloodline gives you like nimbleness spell, so like increases your movement speed, or another one might give you invisibility or a paralysis spell, something like that.
Very Vampire the Masquerade in a sense.
Yeah.
Well, it is actually. Well, I think as Karen mentioned before, when making Daggerfall, they were all massive into the tabletop RPG for Vampire.
Yeah.
So they all got really into it, and that's why they put all these covens in, because they were
exactly.
Oh, come on, we want to put this game into our game.
Yeah, pretty much. And like, it's a shame they didn't get to do more of it, because some of the quests are quite cool. I got to do a few of them.
Yeah.
With a character on Unity.
And as we see with Skyrim, they can do vampires quite well and actually have it playable. Unlike Oblivion, which was almost unplayable.
Exactly. And actually, one thing that was disappointing about the Skyrim vampires was the whole like ice crawling thing, where they were able to like move through the ice. I feel like that was kind of forgotten about, but they did really flesh them out and make them quite cool. Yeah. So yeah, they're pretty cool. I kind of hope we see a kind of an expansion of that with a bit more flavor. Like having different covens of vampires, very cool.
Yeah,
like definitely.
Well, I think having just you may kill me for this, but having just 3 covens, because if you have too many covens,
it gets watered down.
It'll be a bit confusing, and then people forget about it. But if you have like 3 that all have their unique skill trees, like obviously we had the vampire skill tree in Skyrim. Imagine if each 3 had like so one was one, like is it the Tremere in Vampire the Masquerade? Oh, it was one of them. So you have like a mage one, you have like a beast one, like Luther Harkon's Vampire Lords,
Yeah.
Skyrim, and you may like more of like a stalker one where like underground, like so sort of like for each main sort of class.
Yeah, like the way they could do that even is just have like some of the vampire covens from Daggerfall, just they took more land, basically ran out some other covens, and now they're the main ones. So like you could have like the Rothgarian Mountains, that's the western reach as well. So you could have like a kind of a forsworn, like dressed kind of tribal vampire coven. You could have your like upper class, like royalty countess, a Count Dracula style vampire coven. And then you could have your like desert, like nomad vampire coven as well down in.
I'm just gonna say with the deserts, I don't think a really sunny place with no cover is gonna be good for vampires.
Well, they could have some cool stuff where they only move at night and like during the day they hide beneath the sand or something.
Buy an umbrella.
Buy an umbrella, yeah.
well, they always say that the deserts get cold at night. I didn't realize that cold,
Yeah.
Bitten on the neck, You wake up and just toast.
Yeah.
Reminds me a bit actually of there's this one spider. I believe it's in Iraq or within the Middle East area anyway, where I forget what its proper name is, but it's basically it secretes this spit that completely like what's the word? Stops you feeling anything on like
Oh, yeah.
that area. It completely numbs that area. And so like what they would do is they would like a bunch of soldiers that were in the desert, they would go up to them, like secrete this spit, and then the soldiers would wake up and like they would just wake up with like bits of them like on their face missing.
Right.
And it's like, yeah.
Is that new mob idea?
That would be
Elder
cool.
Scrolls 6.
The face spider, yes.
You cannot
God,
sleep when
how-
enemies are nearby.
Yes. Yeah, so that's kind of my first point done. Anyone else got something?
Well, I'd actually expand on that a little bit with one of my own points, which is just in general more / better factions all
Right,
around.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would like to see a return to sort of Oblivion / Morrowind, where there's a more varied array of joinable factions. Because obviously, like, you have your standard pillars of like the Fighters Guild, the Mages Guild, things like that. But I'd also like to see almost varied versions of that, where like, say you had like the more mercenary aspect or more barbarous like type of Fighters Guild, where they'll just kill anyone sort of thing. Or you could have like some kind of like knightly order
Yeah.
one that's more centered towards paladins and that sort of fighter.
And there's
like-
already a foundation for that as well from Daggerfall that they could just bring right over.
Yeah.
And definitely in High Rock, there's tons of knightly orders and things like that in there that like you could join, and like maybe some of them are rivaled against each other, so you can only really join one of them, sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna bring that up actually with the whole. I want like with Morrowind where you can't just join every faction. Like with
Yeah.
Skyrim, you can be part of the Thieves Guild and the Fighters Guild and the Mages Guild, and you don't have to have any skills in any of them to join them.
Yeah.
It's dumb. Whereas in like I'm not sure about Oblivion, but I know Morrowind, you have to have a certain amount of skill to rank up,
Yeah.
and so you have to be good at it. And also that also means that if you're a major in the Thieves Guild, other factions might not like you as much.
Mm.
Can still
Well,
play.
at least
like-
in Skyrim, the College of Winterhold gets you to cast like one spell.
One.
Yeah, I do find it silly that you can be like leader of the companions, as well as like the academy, and like chosen of the Night Mother. All of
And
at the
you
same place.
assassinated the Emperor, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
what? And you're part of the Imperials. What?
Huh?
I understand why they did it for like streamlining and.
Yeah.
So I first played Skyrim. That was my first Elder Scrolls, and if Skyrim was like Morrowind, I wouldn't have been able to play it first. I'd have been really confused and no idea what I was doing. But with
Mm.
Skyrim, it was so easy to play. You could just chill out and play it. I understand why with Skyrim, but if they watered the system down anymore, it might get just turn bad.
Yeah, it is already bad enough that you could be like a really high-ranking member of the Imperial Armed Forces, kill the fucking Emperor, and you're still in.
So no
Like,
one knows it was you.
well, in fairness, they catch you the first time. The Penitens Oculatus catch you when you kill the double.
Just a little
Don't
slap
they?
on the
So,
wrist,
just
don't do it again.
bad boy, don't do that again. The
It's
real
not-
one's coming now.
And it's not like no one knows you're facing, as you literally slew Alduin.
Yeah, you are
The
like
most famous
a
man in
renowned
the land.
hero.
If
Yeah.
the guards can recognize you, surely the spies of the
Imperial
Imperials.
intelligence.
That actually leads right into one of my things, where in Skyrim, from the get-go, like once you get to 30 minutes in, you are the Chosen One, you are the Dragonborn. I kind of want to see it go back to like Oblivion and Morrowind, where you are just some guy until you do something great. And even then, in Oblivion, you're a side character. Sean Bean is the main protagonist. So
With Morrowind with that as well, it's like you can even choose to not be the. It's sort of it's still kind of based off Dune, with the fact that there is a chosen one prophecy, but it was kind of placed there, and
yeah. Well, the only thing I can say about that,
you can fulfill it, but
Yeah.
it's your choice whether you want to or not.
yeah,
There's even an option when you talk to Dagoth where you can one of Dagoth's questions is literally, "Are you Nerevar incarnate?" And you can just
you can tell him what you believe.
"No."
Yeah, that's a really good role playing option. Even though Azura just say, "Yeah, you're kind of the chosen one," you're like, "Oh," but like it's prophecy.
You're Azura's chosen, but
Yeah, you're
can-
not necessarily Nerevar. Like you
Yeah.
are not actually them necessarily, unless you believe it.
Yeah.
Which is really fun from the kind of unreliable narrator kind of point of view as well for storytelling and the like unsurety of the Elder Scrolls universe.
There is also the big like theory that goes around that kind of all the main characters are in a sense the special chosen one, because like a lot of people believe that each one is a Shezarene, like Pelennor.
Yeah.
That they're chosen to be at this area at this specific time by Lorkhan or Shazar Shaw, whatever, to fill out and basically save the world each time.
Yeah.
I think it's just Chim. Some people are born
Yeah.
to be able to quick save the game.
Yeah. Actually, I know that was 2 points in a row, but you talking about just the different names of for Lorkhan for sure. That kind of reminds me how in Skyrim the Imperial Pantheon was shown as the main religion in Skyrim, whereas I think they should have went for the Nordic flavored one, where it's mostly the same gods, but they have their like Nordic names like Shor, Kine, like all that kind of thing, instead of just temples to all the the 8 divines because of Skyrim.
Well, in lore, Skyrim is known to have a bit of a long history of going back and forth.
Yeah,
between
that's true.
It seems like for a period, every other high king would switch. Oh, we're going with the more Cyrodiilic pantheon, and then the other one would come and no, we're going to the more traditional, and it would go back and forth like that for a long while until Talos became, mounted.
Yeah.
And became one of the 9 divines. In which case they sort of mellowed out more towards the Cyrodiilic pantheon.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, you can see the old ways in the tribes in Solstheim.
That's the thing.
Skyrim.
They're even separate to the old pantheon as well, because they've got the Allmaker and the Adversary. They've dumbed it down even more, which is really nice from their tribal perspective. But saying that, I think the Redguard pantheon is really cool, and I hope that at least they have the crowns and the forebears. That hopefully the forebears or the crowns, I forget which side they're on. It's been a while since I've looked at them.
Crowns are the southern one, while the forebears are the more northern.
Well, anyway, whichever one is closer to Imperial, they like their Imperialized gods and stuff. They have more temples there. But once you go to the other side, I want to see a temple to Hunding. I want to see a temple to Satakal, to Sep. like all those cool gods that they have like established lore for, and I think they will, because it's such a unique pantheon, because they're not from this world. That's the thing that a lot of people who aren't like deep into the lore forget about the Red Guards. They're not from Nirn, really.
Well,
But I
From-
suppose
I think
it's-
we'll finally explore it in this game, where it'll
Yeah.
become a mainstream knowledge for Elder Scrolls fans.
yes,
I
yeah,
could also see and would like to see it be in the story almost as a point of contention. Like
Yeah.
maybe it's used by the different like overarching factions as a means to start conflict. Like, oh, these ones are trying the Imperials are trying to push out our old traditions. That's why we should join with the Altmeri Dominion. Or
Yeah.
the other way, like the Altmeri Dominion are using these guys to, push us out. We need to push forward with our own like traditions, sort of thing.
Yeah. Saying that though, I feel like it's kind of a thing where both factions hate the elves sufficiently enough that they wouldn't do that, and that they'd end up just putting their differences aside for a while to fight the Dominion like they did previously.
Yeah.
Possible, but again,
Well, I've got a sort of one of my points sort of goes into that with one of my actual main points about the main plot.
Right.
So I've had a few theories about how things can people can join together against one big thing, and as a Morrowind fan, what I really want to see is a conclusion to the Dwemer storyline.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. It's just my theory, but they blasted themselves forward in time, and they come back, and that's the main plot of the game. So obviously,
Yeah.
like the dragons and Dagoth, there, all the main quests, and Marin's Dagon. In this one, I want it to be the Dwemer, and
That
with
would
the
be
Dwemer,
very interesting.
I'd love it so we could get all the other factions. You might have to. Well, the way they were beat originally, in the Battle of Red Mountain, was the Nords and the Dunmer, or sorry, the Chimer as they were before, had to unite. So I was thinking maybe one sideline in the Civil War against the Altmeri Dominion, you may have to side for a minute just to stop the Dwemer.
Yeah.
They're back, and imagine if we get. I can't remember if Kagranak was killed or not.
Kagranak wasn't killed. He struck the heart with Sunder, and the entire race disappeared. So
imagine if Kagranak was the main bad guy of this game.
That would be quite cool, I suppose. They could definitely make it work with the establishment that there are like Dwemer ruins there. But as well as that, it kind of leaves open, because their technology is leaps and bounds ahead of anyone. Their understanding of magic, so they could really have something about a new Numidium or something, and hopefully we see something with more like Heart of Lorkhan, because even though it was destroyed in Morrowind, or like disabled, like maybe there's something more to that, like, because in Skyrim it's teased that what's that guy who's
It's
living
that
in
one
the ice
quest
cave?
where I can't remember his name, but it's for the Elder Scroll, isn't it?
Yeah, it's for the
He's like-
Hermaeus Mora quest, and you're looking
Yeah.
for the Elder Scroll. And Hermaeus Mora has him thinking the Heart of Lorkhan's in this thing, but it's actually like the Ogma Infinium or one of those books. Yeah, it's very, very.
The fact they included the
compelling.
Dwemer very heavily in Skyrim means they're definitely setting something big up.
Yeah, like the Dwemer are a fan favorite as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, it definitely plays in, because obviously we don't fully know what happened to them. Obviously, a lot of people have theories. We go into things like Chim zero summing, or like you said, them being put forward in time. I even heard a funny theory that what happened is they got sent back in time and they had to start all over, and that's why
I don't
they're
like that
so
theory, though.
advanced. Is that they they keep making new stuff but keep getting themselves sent back in time.
Yeah,
Well,
another theory.
well, with Elder Scrolls on, are you about to talk about the Elder Scrolls Online here, Kieran?
No, you go ahead.
Blackreach. So there's been a the bit is it Greymore that allowed that you could go to another
Greymore,
path of Blackreach, and it said that the Dwemer were actually, you know how there's, if you've ever been there, there's these the rocks look slightly blue.
Yeah.
Well,
the Ethereum.
they've actually fully explained that in online. I've not played it, so correct me if I'm wrong. But there's a whole thing in there about them using that as power, and there's a guy you can talk to who talks about time travel, and he starts to talk about the Dwemer, and I think that's really they wouldn't put that in for no reason. I think they're setting up
Yeah.
The dragon.
Although the thing about that is the lore master for ESO is completely separate to Bethesda. Like it's made by a different studio, and we
That is
can't
true.
take it all as canon because it is a spin-off game, really.
Yeah.
And saying that as well, the Ethereum thing was looked at in Skyrim. So you're right, there could be something about Ethereum because there were Ethereum wars
Mhm.
in amongst the different Dwemer clans. So they could definitely have something there as well.
Yeah.
I'd like to see something with like a new Numidium or something, kind of again bringing it back to like Daggerfall era. Like
Well,
maybe
this,
the Numidium is found again or something.
the
What
main
would
character, the
also
main character is going to be the Nerevarine.
Yeah.
He's
what would
reincarnated again.
also be interesting is if there were Dwemer, we would be able to get their insight on the Battle of Red Mountain.
Yes.
Because like as it stands, like it seems like each different faction that played a role has their own interpretation of how
Yeah.
things went
The
down.
classic history is written by the victors. Like
True. It could be a sense of oh no that like we were the most important, or it could. I mean, some people do think just because a lot of these things line up that shouldn't. A lot of people think that what happened there was a dragon break,
yeah,
which is where like time sort of gets
time goes
wrinkled
wacky.
and like technically all these same things happened that shouldn't have been able to happen at the same time.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, a similar thing happened with Riemann, I believe, of
Yeah.
how his birth went on. How some people say he was born out of a mountain, other people say he was a Colofian noble.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
more inclined to believe the mundane there that he just made up a story about how he is like rightfully born to rule because that is more likely in my opinion.
I suppose, but like just looking at Elder Scrolls and some of the weird stuff that can happen,
Yeah, that's
I'm
true as
willing
well.
to believe that like some weird magic went on there.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to wonder: is it a dragon break or just unreliable narratorship?
True.
Um, but yeah, like the main big dragon break was the warp in the west in the Iliac Bay, so we could be looking at another thing to do with that where something crazy happens. Like I want to see how Skyrim gets resolved into um
Yes.
into
Mm.
this game.
I feel
I've got a feeling it'll be Stormcloak,
Yeah, because
just
that'll
because.
that'll be more
Just,
interesting.
yeah, and call me weird, right? This isn't even on my notes. I've just thought of this now. We were talking about like Kagranak's the main bad guy and stuff, and more about what happened at the Battle of Red Mountain. Now, we've seen a previous main character come back before in the Elder Scrolls, because in Skyrim you got to meet Sheogorath, who is actually the hero.
Yes, that's
I'm
right.
thinking all we know about what happened to the Nerevarine after Morrowind was they went to Akavir.
Yes.
That's all we know. And just bear in mind that most of the promotional art for Morrowind has the main character as a Dunmer, which means that
Mhm.
they can live hundreds of years.
Yeah.
I'm not saying maybe the main quest, but maybe a DLC or something, or expansion, where the Nerevarine comes back because he's heard about what's happened, or something. Or it's just me throwing this into the wind here, because we've seen
Yeah.
another character come back, and I wouldn't mind if they just had a Dunmer in dwarven armor with a long blade. You know, I wouldn't mind that. As like,
Yeah.
because
At the
there's
same
only
time,
so,
that could annoy some fans.
it could annoy some of us, but there's only so much ambiguity.
Yeah,
For example, you have to resolve the Stormcloak versus Imperial quest in one way
you
or
have
another.
to. You have
Definitely
to.
have to. Even though that's not how you played the game, that's how it turned out in the end.
It's just another dragon break. Like there's always a dragon break between games.
Yeah.
Like it's not necessarily that the hero of Kvatch was the Grey Fox, but somebody was the Grey Fox, whether it was your
Yeah.
character or not, and the same events will play out. An Elder Scroll was stolen, you know, that kind of thing.
Well,
Where
have you
like
played
the world.
Have you
Go
played
on.
Knights of the Old Republic 2?
I actually have not.
So I'm assuming you played you know about the first one at least.
Yeah.
So the opening of Knights of the Old Republic 2 is fantastic with how it does the previous game's Revan.
Yeah.
And skip this bit if you don't want spoilers for Knights of the Old Republic 1. But so part of the thing that started, you talked to Aton about who Revan was.
Yeah.
And you get to, and so for example, Atom will say, "Oh, she was great," and you have the option to say, "Oh no, Revan was a male character." because obviously that's how
Yeah.
you got them, and you can talk about how if they were evil or not, if they were good,
Yeah.
and you talk about who Revan was, and it remembers that for parts of the game and who they were. So, for example, everyone will refer to them as he because
Yeah.
that's what your character was, and something like that at the beginning. There's someone asking you about normal history, and you get to choose.
That would be
That
very
would
cool. Yeah.
work.
That would
That-
work.
But it would, especially with the Stormcloaks versus Imperials, that would be hard.
Oh,
But
I hope
but if you're
Bethesda's
talking
taking
about,
notes.
but if you're talking about, say, the Dragonborn, oh, I heard they were a great mage.
Yeah.
If you come in, it's like, oh, and so maybe there could be a Mages Guild quest where the leader of the College of Winterhold comes to visit, or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that
Definitely,
makes sense
maybe.
because that
And
would be cool.
I would say it definitely like goes on to a like bigger aspect of I feel like game publishers that make like open world games like this, especially with long series, shouldn't be afraid to pick like an outcome as like when it comes to like multiple endings
Yeah.
available. So like obviously with this they've been lucky so far where like usually games have been so like distant from one another you don't need to like mention it as much, especially with like Morrowind to Oblivion, things like that.
Yeah.
But obviously for this one, I mean Skyrim and like Hammerfell and whatnot are basically next door to each other.
Yeah.
So the outcome of that is going to have
Yeah.
like a ripple effect. Uh,
Unless you said it in the fifth era.
Yeah. Oh God, I hope
Elmeri
there's not
Dominion's
too
already
much.
gone. They're gone.
I hope there's not too much of a time skip. Like I hope it's pretty because the first 4 games take place in the reign of Uriel Septim, the what is it, the
Seventh.
7th?
yes.
They all take place under his reign. So, you know, they're all pretty tightly packed together. By the time of Skyrim, the Septim dynasty has been dead for like over 100 years.
Yeah.
You know, so it's still not too much of a time skip. The same factions are all knocking around still. But still, you know, like it's close enough but far away enough at the same time. But I think the next game needs to be quite close, like within 20, 30 years.
Hmm,
um,
definitely.
To
And
carry
also-
on the story that people got hooked on in Skyrim.
No, I don't think they'll do this, but it also brings up another point you just made me think of is obviously the Imperial Dynasty is no more, and obviously we know that the Emperor can only be of a dragonborn of dragon blood, of
Yes.
the Dragonborn. So it would be a little interesting if maybe your character or the last Dragonborn from
Became the
Skyrim was
Emperor.
or was like leading some kind of like force to like become the emperor of
Yeah.
the empire.
Because that
It would
could be
almost be
happening
interesting.
completely out of game as well. Like it's just you hear news of it happening kind of thing.
Yeah.
That would be kind of interesting, and that
Well,
would lead on to a new dynasty of Dragonborn emperors.
Now imagine like sort of like Joshua Graham like from New Vegas storyline where you get to like you can choose to help them or like make them more evil or something. So for example the Dragon Ball's like I want maybe they're like focused, I want to become the Empire, and they'll have reasons for it like Ulfric. But like
Yeah.
I want to be an Empire so that we can unite it and fight it against the Aldmeri Dominion. Something needs to happen to stop the Aldmeri. And that he might be going too far. And I'm just saying he because I played a male character in Skyrim. But
Yeah.
it might be going too far in some place, and you can help, or maybe even stop them. You know, or like
Yeah.
that where there might be so they might start to go down a dark path, and you can redeem them, or you can encourage them because it's a role playing game. You know,
Yeah.
I played an evil character in my Skyrim playthrough.
That is another thing. The opportunity to play an evil character will be very nice, like an actually evil character,
Yeah,
where it has negative effects on the world, more than just killing a mean orphanage owner. You know, like okay, you kill the emperor, fair, but as I said, there's no consequences. You're no longer allowed to be part of the Imperial Legion. You know,
yes,
if you were kicked out and had to join the Stormcloaks to resolve that quest line, that'd be quite interesting.
yeah, which could go well into what we were saying before about how we want to bring back how different factions don't like you for being in other factions.
Yeah,
That would work really well.
I would like to see a return of like that aspect of old Fallout games where doing certain quests has an effect on like overall like likes and dislikes of people, but also like for specific factions,
Yeah.
like having their own like opinion of you. Like some outright hate you, while others think, "Oh, you're the greatest man ever alive."
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
it's not just you do good things, everyone automatically likes you. You know,
Yeah, which
everyone
is
likes
why I want them to bring back the disposition
Yeah.
from the mechanic. So they ruined it in Oblivion with the mini game for it, but in Morrowind it was really nice. Where like, so for example, if you dressed like a hobo, people will treat you like a hobo. You know, so
Mm.
like the whole speechcraft system was really important because you could convince
Yeah.
people and how much they like you, and you can talk to them, and the way you talk to them improves how
You
they
know,
like you, and I think that would work really well.
that actually leads on to one of my points, where like kind of your race doesn't just affect, like, first off, having like racial abilities would be kind of cool, you know, bringing those back, more so than they were in Skyrim, where you could just, you know, be like anything with
Oh, I
any
can breathe
race.
underwater.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, you know. But what I'm talking about is kind of if you were an orc and you go up to like an orcish tribe like camp or something, and you talk to the chief of the group, like he'll say, "Oh, a fellow orc," you know, like he'll kind of be less aggressive towards you because you're an orc. Or if you're a high elf and you like vibe on up to a red guard, and they kind of go, "Oh, a high elf," you know,
Yeah.
like we're kind of at war with you at the moment, something like that.
So you have to do things to make them
Yeah.
think better of you because that's what you are.
Where they like remark
But better.
on you being whatever like race you are, like a Khajiit going into a city. It's like, hey, don't steal anything now. You know,
Yeah.
kind of. It's like even
It's
if
like
it's just chatting, jovial kind of remarks.
Yeah.
And a part of me, like, honestly kind of feels that they were wanting to implement that in Skyrim, but it
Yeah.
sort of got lost somewhere. Because if you look at, this is like the only time it happens in the game, but if you, there's this one quest where you have to, like, break into an Altmeri Dominion headquarters,
Yeah.
and get a thing, and usually you have to, like, just kill everyone in there. But if you are a high elf and you dress in Altmeri Dominion clothes.
Yeah,
Like
you
you
can
can
just
just go
waltz
in
on
there
through there.
and no
Yeah.
one stops you.
Yeah, the
And like,
disguise does
yeah,
work with other races, and it's actually
does it?
more or less effective depending what race you are. So if you're one of the elven races, it's slightly easier, unless you're a high elf, where it's quite easy. So like if you get close to them and say, hey, wait a second, if you're playing a human, they'll get within like, I don't know, like 5-10 meters, and you can go, that's a what the hell? Why are you wearing that uniform? And then if you're like a Khajiit or an Argonian, it's not that effective at all.
Which is a little odd because aren't the Khajiit technically in the Altmeri
Yeah,
Dominion
but I
or
imagine
tribute
I
to them?
imagine the racial kind of aspects
That's
of
true.
the Dominion probably don't allow Khajiit to serve as
Mm,
Thalmor agents,
it's very
because
true.
we've only seen high elf ones so far.
Yeah. I think it's sort of this thing in a similar thing to the Telvanni and Morrowind where you can still join them as a non-Dunmer, but all of them will have a slightly lower disposition towards you. And the more quests you do, some might improve their opinion, but some are just out racist and don't like you.
Yeah,
As you're like, hey, can I buy a spell? And they go, no.
go
I was like,
away.
oh, okay.
I just
I
floated
thought-
up your mushroom tower. It took so much effort, and you're not going to sell me the spell.
Get
And
out.
I did quite enjoy that because it does make it feel more like you're role playing because you could, like, depending on what race you choose could be a big thing at the start of the game.
Yeah,
Like it offers different varieties and playthroughs. And imagine seeing I'm imagining watching like a video of like a video on YouTube I saw like how me an Argonian joined the Almeri Dominion.
yeah,
I'd also like to see like varying degrees of it and maybe some like outliers because obviously in Morrowind as well. Like I think correct me if I'm wrong, but like the Halalu, like House Halalu, were like the most accepting. I think of
yeah. They were
outsiders.
like a
'Cause-
trade house. One
and
of their
also,
counselors is an imperial.
and I think it's because like they were also just very. They're
Sorry.
highly sponsored by the Empire.
Yeah,
Because I think that's even how they rose to prominence is
Yeah,
through.
it's
working
because
with
they
the
do a lot of trade with them. They're all about commerce,
course.
and
We know-
fanfic about Argonian maids.
We know now that it didn't quite work out for them after Morrowind, but you know, even
Yeah.
still.
The Telvanni want to enslave Argonians. The Hlalu want to lay them.
Two sides of one coin.
And then Redoran, no one joins Redoran because you don't get any rewards for it.
Yeah, why would you, in your right mind, join Redoran?
Have all your stuff every mission. It's just like, ugh.
That is actually a slight thing I would like to see a continuation of is the Argonian occupation of Morrowind.
Yeah,
Because we know from Skyrim that like the Argonian Black Marsh retaliated to Dark Elf occupation of certain areas by basically invading them themselves
yeah.
and like holding, I think, some of the most southern like governance of Morrowind. So it'd be
Those damn slave races.
nice to see like if anything with that develops, just as a slight thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
What was I going to say? Mason, you had a point there about the Adamantine Tower.
Yes.
Mm.
I'm hoping that that will play a role in the story because if I remember correctly, don't fully quote me on this, but there were aspects of it hinted at in Elder Scrolls Online,
Yeah,
basically saying, I forget I think it was in one of the DLCs, but basically someone was saying like, going on about the importance of it and how, when this opens, like tons of stuff is going to happen. And to me,
yeah,
that basically says they're setting up for the Adamantine Tower opening in the next Elder Scrolls game. What
yeah,
that entails, who fully knows? That's the secret. That's the surprise.
yeah. Like it is the like most important tower on Nirn. Like there's the whole towers theory. Like you have the white gold tower, you have the adamantine tower. There's
Yeah, the Tower of
there's a tower.
Sauron, you know.
Yes, no, there's one in Valenwood. There's the Throat of the World in Skyrim. Red Mountain was one of the towers, and there's also a theory. Fudge Muppet talk about it all the time, where they want to the Aldmeri Dominion want to destroy all the towers so they can return and ascend to like out of mortality to godhood. But,
That sounds similar to the Dweller.
yeah,
A part of me wonders if they base it off Norse mythology a little bit, because in Norse mythology, there are these four gnomish brothers who basically hold up the world by standing on like the top of the highest mountains, each of
Mhm.
them being named north, west, east, and south, and that's where
Right.
they get like the compass directions for them. So I wonder if that's the same thing where like they think
Yeah, they could have, yeah.
towers are holding up the world. So if
And
those come
each
crashing down,
tower as well has like a gem connected to it. I forget what the Adamantine Towers one is. I'll quickly look it up.
hmm. But yeah, I definitely feel that that will have to play a role in it because obviously you
Total
hear
Zero
about these
thing.
things beforehand in other games, and this is the
Yeah.
time to expand on them when you're there. So I feel it's now or never that like something is going to happen with the Adamantine Tower. It's going to
Yeah,
be
like
in this game, or it's just going to sit there.
it's the Zero Stone is the stone of that tower.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is the Adamantine Tower also not in Daggerfall?
It is, yeah. It's
Yeah.
actually a big ass dungeon in Daggerfall. It's a pain in the ass, I'll tell you that. But it's also like it's quite unimpressive. Well, it's impressive for Daggerfall. It's probably the tallest building in the game, but it's only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 stories tall from the outside. Looking at it.
Not as impressive.
And looks kind of phallic.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
But yeah, it does look a lot cooler in more recent depictions. Like its depiction, it kind of looks more like the white gold tower.
Yeah.
And actually, I hope they bring adamantine back as a material. That would be quite nice.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Well, if that point's over, I've got a big one for
Okay.
you guys. So we know that Bethesda are currently making Starfield first.
Mhm.
Now, there's a rumor going around that the spaceship combat in Starfield is going to be used in Elder Scrolls as boat combat.
Right.
Now, I have two minds about this. First of all, having a cool offside mechanic would be kind of fun to get into, like for example, the settlement building in Fallout 4. That was a really cool gimmick. A lot of people didn't like it, but you also didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
So like, well, if you did want to do it, it was really fun and enjoyable. Apart from the DLCs that did nothing, but
Well, there's the automation one.
well, there's the oh, there is, yeah, but there's also I have a fear about it, and that is I really hope it doesn't do an Arkham Knight, where every second mission requires you to be on a boat.
Yeah. Okay.
An
Yeah.
overuse would be very annoying. Like
Yeah.
having it as an option that I can do if I want to, and having specific stuff just for that, that's fine. But
Mhm.
if it becomes like a major just part of just every 5 seconds you're going back on your boat,
Yeah.
it's just gonna become
that would be
black,
kind of
black
annoying.
flag.
Black
You know what I
Flag.
mean?
Elder Scrolls Black Flag. Actually, with boats, I think the Slode. I think Mason, you wanted to talk about them as well, didn't you? The Slode would be kind of a cool. If there was a lot of like naval stuff going from island to island, like the Slode have been known to set up on them, like from Redguard, do
Oh, definitely.
necromancy and all that stuff.
Like
want
the
to join
Slode
them.
as a race, I definitely want to see more of. As we mostly only saw them in, well, the most prominence was in the game Redguard, which not a great game, but it did get to show off these big boys. I would definitely like to see them return, but definitely for some like side quests.
Yeah,
Maybe
I don't.
pretty cool enemy.
help you in
Oh,
the final battle. unite the Slodes.
Yeah. Yeah, because they are really cool, and there's like a massive stigma against them as well. Like the entirety of Tamriel hates them.
I mean, for good reason, I would say.
Yeah,
Given they're a very racist, very
they
like
literally made a plague, the Thracian plague, to wipe out all life except the Argonians. The Argonians were immune because Argonians
yes, all that hist advantage.
hist juice.
They're also very prominent users of necromancy,
Yeah.
which a lot of people don't like either. But yes, I would like to see them. I think they'd make a cool enemy as well.
Yeah.
Just give more of just more variety to like what type of enemies we would see in the game.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
and also give that more like semi-alienist aspect because with a lot of the more fantastical creatures, I feel like we haven't seen in a long while in
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls games. Like we haven't seen the centaurs,
We haven't seen Werebore. I want Werebore back.
the wereboars, the
Oh, my giant!
harpies.
What are the giant turtles called?
Forget.
There's one in Battlespire, I think, which is giant tortoise.
Yeah.
Or
The
turtle, I can't
monkey
remember which
people. So yeah, I would just like to see a little bit more of the more fantastical aspects, thrown back into a little bit. And I think with the Slodes, they're that mix of like like what's the word, silly slash slightly intimidating that I think
Yeah.
would work well.
And they're kind of gross as well. Like they could make them slimy, ugly looking. Like especially with current graphical technology, we've seen them as low poly, like pixel art essentially. We haven't gotten to see them in like full rendered slimy glory.
I want the full rendered Slode soap.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I want the ability to take a bath with Slode soap.
Oh,
I reckon
mechanic.
it's one of those scummy kind of soaps as well that leaves like a film on the water.
oh.
Ugh.
You get a quest from some guy to go poach some Slodes for their soap.
They sell good in Morrowind, you know.
Of course.
Mm.
Oh, what else? Oh, I've got one.
Um,
So this is good. This is gonna be me getting a bit of a strong point here for me. I want my magic back.
Yeah,
I want levitation.
definitely.
I want the mysticism tree back. I want to be able to teleport. I want all of it back. Where's it gone?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is a good point. Like, and as well as
I
that, like
agree.
spell crafting was so fucking cool. I want spell crafting back.
Why would I need a boat when I can walk across the water? Come
Yeah,
on.
exactly.
I want to walk.
Like yesterday, making my periodic trip to the mudcrab merchant while playing Morrowind, I just walked. Doesn't matter that it's on the water. I walked, and it was cool, and I enjoyed it.
What you got to do? Water walking and the bounce spell, and you just jump
Yeah.
across the water.
And as well as that speed attribute spell as well.
Oh,
And you can get some serious speed there. You can hop out the Solstheim in like 5 seconds.
get the,
If I
boots of
had-
get the boots of blinding speed on.
Yes.
If I had to guess why they sort of cut out on it, is because as we all know, like the Bethesda engine, as it was
And as it
already
still
so
is.
much true as it still is quite a buggy mess, and it's held together with mothballs and Chinese glue.
Yeah.
So like adding these close to game breaking features would be a bit of a scary thing, I think, for the developers.
Yeah,
But
that as well. Actually, that the reason that they don't have the levitation, the fact that like you have to enter a new cell to go into a city, like open a gate and then you teleport inside. I think if they have open cities, like large cities, with it's definitely possible in the current generation of consoles. So there's no reason we should be held back for them.
definitely, I agree. Bigger cities, just
Bigger cities, and you can just
bigger
walk
stuff
into
in
them.
general. Honestly,
Yeah, bigger is better.
yeah, that's what my girlfriend tells me.
But with that though, in my opinion, Daggerfall, the game, is too big. Because the
Okay, yeah,
procedural
that's true.
generation, as much as it allows for more, it also means everything is just a bit more like surrounded. There's not many
Yeah.
different quests in Daggerfall. There's only a certain amount you can do, even with the massive world that's there.
Yeah, what is there, like 200 total different types of quests or something like that, I think.
I think it
Yeah.
is.
I prefer handcrafted stuff.
I
Like
think it is
they've
about
built the world.
finding like that middle ground
Happy
between
bit
like
balance, yeah.
being so grand that like people are in awe, it's like there's so much, but also being able to fill most of that with interesting stuff.
Yeah.
I think Elden Ring recently has done a very good job of that, where the
Yeah.
world is very big, but like most nooks and crannies have
There's something
something
there.
going on. There's
Yeah.
some like be it a quest, a cool item,
Cave.
a small little dungeon. You know,
Yeah.
just plopping the world with these like little dungeons, like really adds like flavor to that game, and I would love to see
And
something
they
similar.
could even have some of the dungeons randomly generated. Like, you know, if it's just a random cave you find, some of those could be randomly generated.
Well, things with Morrowind, there's so many random caves that exist that you can just go into. Same with Skyrim
Yeah.
as well, actually. And they'll have loads of stuff in it. What about the Morrowind caves and quests? Is that because they're handcrafted, they can hide things properly. So,
Yeah.
for example, like, I think it's the place where you fight. Is it Dagoth Gairs? It's near
Yeah.
Nesis, I think, or somewhere around there. It's on a
think.
rock.
Yeah, I know the
Is
one.
that rock orcs jump off or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
As they're known to.
Two of the best pieces of armor in the game you can get there, but they're hidden behind the back of some tomb. And
Yeah.
like, there's so much stuff hidden. Like other dungeons will have like, for example, if you've got a levitation spell, you can fly to the top of the dungeon, and there might be something on top of a rock up there.
The amount of Dwemer observatories with they have a little lip, a little rim around the top. I check every single one of those because you can
Yeah.
find the coolest stuff there.
And
Like,
it's hard to do with procedural generation. That
yeah.
True, it's very true.
But the thing is, like that technology itself has come a long way, and I'm sure they could make it so there's always something interesting in the environment, like a little secret door or something.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah,
But the only issue
use
is,
sparingly.
unlike, unfortunately though, with Daggerfall as an example,
Yeah.
things away because it's random. There's the random chance that the actual thing you're looking for is behind a hidden door, which you'll never see in a million years.
Yeah.
There's no indication it's there. You just got to press E on every single part of the wall of the dungeon, which is already big enough.
If
can't
they
even follow a
have a
guide for it.
thing like to flesh out like more caves and stuff, they could randomly generate them, then touch them up by hand. Maybe
Maybe.
that would
I think
definitely
like
help them out more.
I just think I prefer having it on a smaller scale because we know that obviously in the 3, 4, and 5, that's not the actual size of the world. It's just
Yeah.
so that we can comprehend it. So if you
Yeah. Meanwhile, Daggerfall to scale.
yeah, they're never to scale, but it still feels like a good world because everything you go into, there's something there you can explore.
Yeah.
People, you can
True.
talk to them. I think with
Yeah,
Daggerfall, every NPC just feels a bit. One thing I do want though, normal townspeople that aren't named.
Yeah, just
Because
randomers.
a good example, like one of the best fantasy cities I've ever seen is the main one in Witcher 3. And there's just people walking around. And the actual on NPC stuff has loads of stuff to talk about. But just having someone just called peasant, I don't mind. You know, not everyone has to have a name and a wiki article. You know,
Or they could even just randomly generate some names. You know.
yeah. But like have the you
Sure.
can sort of talk to them though. Like obviously they might have similar voice actors as other ones. It's harder to do
Yeah.
when it's voice acted. But
True.
at least I wouldn't mind if like say you're looking for somewhere and you just ask someone. Which is also I don't want quest markers. I know that's probably just me being a Morrowind fan, but I like exploring and asking for directions.
Yeah, or at least
Well,
having
or at
kind
least
of
have that as
a
an option,
balance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe.
like in Elden Ring. In Elden Ring, you can get directions, but you can also place map markers.
True.
So you can have a best of both worlds, where you could check your map, follow the route they describe to you, and just put a marker there.
Or what it could be is the quest marker doesn't actually appear until you found out from people where it is. So if someone goes, "Oh, there's a cave somewhere," like, well, I was playing New Vegas the other day, and I was like, "Oh, we need to find. We have no idea where we're going to find this technological thing." I'm like, "Okay, I'll accept the quest." There's a quest marker that leads directly to it. There's no looking for it; it just goes straight to it.
It's
Whereas
just
imagine if you had to ask around
procession.
until someone said, "Oh, I know," or "I know someone," and you talk to them, and then a quest marker appears. I think that would be a lot cooler.
Or at least like it's a thing of like we think it's in this general area, and so then on the map it like makes like a circle around
Yeah.
a certain, and then you explore that just so like people have a like at least a starting point in
Yeah.
to know like you know where
Yeah.
to stay in to
It's
try
like, I
and
don't know.
find this thing.
Maybe you should ask around Daggerfall. Something like that.
Yeah, like if you get like a Thieves Guild quest, if you go to the city of Daggerfall, you know that the person's name who's your target that you got to steal something from. You get there, then you ask for directions to their house, and maybe you can find out some tips about getting in.
Yeah. Although I will say
Definitely.
what I don't want with this is so for example, so like one thing I do want, so say you got to look for something. That's
Mhm.
it sends you a quest marker to the location, but it doesn't tell you where in that house maybe the item is. What I don't want, however, is the Dwemer puzzle box in Morrowind, where there's a whole dungeon. And you know it's in this one dungeon, and you go around the whole dungeon, you can't find it. It turns right at the beginning on a little ledge above that I didn't even know I could get to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That well
Yeah.
on my
Those
first
sneaky
playthrough.
dwarves.
They just put it right on a shelf, right near the entrance. Like, oh, you buggers!
Never suspect. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
that's
totally
always
agree.
fun.
Uh, A point I'd like to bring up is one thing I am definitely hoping to be added is much more advanced slash dynamic companions,
Yeah.
like what we saw in Fallout 4. Because I will say I'd say the Fallout games since 2 have had very good companions
Yeah.
that you can pick up, where like they give good like extra insights, things like that. Almost their own like a lot of times their own like mini quests, and
Yeah.
I want to see more of that put into an Elder Scrolls game. Things like full like dialogue trees of like what you can say to them, likes and dislikes between them.
Especially how them approving or disproving of your actions in Fallout
Yeah.
4. That
That
was
is
one
the
of my
main one.
favorite things. So,
Definitely
would it make sense that Lydia, the Thane of Whiterun, helps you massacre the entire Whiterun town guards?
No,
not
no,
likely,
it makes no sense.
not likely. Uh, and on top of that, I would like to see dynamic like progression for them, almost like character progression. Because obviously, to some extent, like they have that way. Just talking to them, you get to a resolution of like, oh, you're best friends now or whatever. But I'd like to see things that you can say to them that like can change their outlook on certain things or change
Yeah.
certain aspects of them or their character just by talking to them and choosing the right dialogue options.
Yeah, like I enjoyed in 4 with the Paladin dance questline, where
That was my
you can
favorite.
convince him not to off himself or give
Or
himself up to.
Unfortunately, I didn't notice that at the time when I was like 15. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm going to have to kill him. I was literally like crying in my front room. I mean, I'm putting a gun to Paladin's head. I'm like, I'm sorry, my boy. I just dove him. And my dad's like, oh, why'd you do that? I'm like, I had to.
no choice. But yeah, Kat as well has a very similar thing where like eventually, like but going through her like befriending quest line, you can help her. You can choose to either help her get off of her chem addiction or stick with it, and doing
Yeah.
so has drastic changes to her likes and dislikes as a character. Like if you go through her getting off her addiction, like having chems around her like has a negative impact on your relationship, and I liked that a lot. I would like to see more stuff, just more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
And also, with regards to the settlement building, I said earlier, I want a bit of that in the new one, but I don't want every settlement to be a settlement building thing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like
I
I want the plots of land where I can do that, or like maybe if you like talk to a city enough, you can maybe do it in there. But
Yeah. Or like just a plot of land like the Heartfire DLC where you can build your own house.
not as restricted.
but obviously
as
with the mechanics of
Yeah, with like
yeah.
building mechanics. Yeah.
Yeah, and then having it as a place where all these companions can go to. And
Yeah.
one thing I'd like with what you said about companions is, imagine having like, so say you have like an evil companion that comes with you for your evil stuff, and you're a good companion. I'd like to start like arguing with each
Yeah.
other in the actual like base you've got. So you have to like, make two bases, one for your good ones and one for your evil ones.
One
And
evil mansion, one lovely like cottage.
I imagine Lydia fighting Cicero.
Yeah.
Something like that. That'd be so funny.
And actually, that would be something I would like to see, like just in general, like interactions between companions, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not too sure how if I would want like the ability to have more than one companion. I think New Vegas had a nice mix of it, where you can have a proper companion and a non-human companion alongside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting to see like just having like companions in the same area, having them like interact a little bit would be fun to see.
And
Yeah.
when you mentioned New Vegas, I also want the perk. I don't know if they fully did this in 4, but like each companion would give you a certain perk, and depending on if you do their quest or not, they might give you extra perks as well.
Yeah, like Boone gives you the spotter perk. You've got
Yeah.
Eddie who like highlights enemies and all that.
I quite like that.
I think it gives an extra incentive to going through their quests.
Yeah.
But to go further on your settlement building, I would like to see it almost like tied into the factions per se, where like if you befriend like this knightly order, they'll like say, "Oh, we want you to like go over here and create that. We'll give you this plot of land that we gained, and you build a fortress or something there for us." Or maybe in a way like you can dedicate one of your things to a faction that you're a part of or has befriended.
Yeah.
I
Or
think
maybe
that
they might be like, "Oh, we need you to go over here and fix this town that we've made. It's not working. Could you do something to like?" There might be like a prospectors guild or something that
Yeah.
specialization is fixing places that are going wrong, and you can go there and
Yeah,
fix.
that would be cool.
You know how
And-
you had the water spigots in Fallout 4. You could just
Yeah.
you could change that to a well. You know, it would just it could be easily brought over.
Yeah, and like you wouldn't need electricity.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Or there might be like
Easier.
magic stuff or something like magic wires.
I would hate that. I would absolutely despise it. I
crystal
want to just put a
cables.
torch sconce on a wall and I want it to be there.
Oh, but
Magic.
imagine you can make your own Dwemer machines.
That would be cool.
With it.
I can see that being a DLC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Roboticist DLC.
Kagranat's tool set, you know.
Yeah, you get Sunder Keening and all that.
Build your own robot companion.
You go through a portal, you just end up in Fallout 4. Damn it,
Yeah.
Todd! Not again!
Not again.
But like, if we
Um,
did go with like the dedicating a settlement to it, I would love to see if choosing that like faction has like a change to the aesthetic of the area, like the
Yeah.
buildings or like even just flags, maybe little touches that just show that this is they're allied with this knightly order or the thieves guild or whatever.
Yeah, something cool. Yeah, that'd
Nice
be
little
very
touches to show
interesting.
that like you're having an effect on the world.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think I've kind of covered everything I want to talk about there
I
anyway.
think I have as well.
Same here.
Right. So that was our first podcast.
Mm.
I think it went very well.
Definitely. We're
Um,
hoping that all of you watching, if you've stayed this long and haven't gotten tired of our voices, I hope
All 7 of you.
all 7 of you at
I
most.
hope. I hope
Yeah,
you.
come on, that's very lenient. 3.
But either way, existing or not, listening to us, we're hoping that you enjoyed our ramblings, our talks on just some of the things we're hoping will be in, the next game.
And just remember, we could be completely wrong.
We most likely are. All right. Yeah, thanks everyone for listening, and we'll try to get another podcast out at some point. No
Bye-bye.
promises. Bye-bye.
So long.